I don't know about you, but every now and then when I am very frustrated about something, I find myself saying, if I were made king for a day, I would. And I finish the sentence with my idea about how to improve a system that seems broken. I have lots and lots of good ideas, and I'm sure you do too. And there are so many problems in this world that I would fix if I were in charge. Problems like the mother in St. Catharines, Ontario, who is wondering how she will feed her baby because her baby needs prescription formula that is now no longer covered by the provincial healthcare system and costs $600 a month. Or the people in our community who live in woefully inadequate housing that they spend more than half their income on and still has mold growing in the bathroom that the landlord won't do anything about. Or the fact that several members of our congregation are difficult for us and their family and friends to visit because they've been moved to personal care homes in other communities because there aren't any spaces here. Or the ridiculously long waits that immigrants and refugees face when they want to bring their family and friends to join them here in Canada. I could go on and on and on. What problems would you fix if you were king for a day? Spike Jonze's 2009 movie adaptation of the children's book we've been exploring this Lent, Where the Wild Things Are, gives a little more concrete sense of the reasons why Max might decide to go wild. You see, his life is difficult. His dad's gone, his mother is stressed out, his sister ignores him. No wonder he wants to escape. And the movie version goes on to show how the wild things that Max meets when he reaches the imaginary island mirror different aspects of his heart. There's the part of him that nobody listens to, the part of him that wants to run away, the part of him that covers up rejection with bitterness, and especially there's Carol, the angry, violent, scared to death of losing what he loves most part of him. It's Carol who declares Max to be the king of the wild things, with a fervent hope that Max will fix everything. There has to be a way to keep all the sadness out, Carol says. And later Carol adds, there should be a place where everything you wanted to happen happens. Sounds a little like me in those moments when I want to be king for a day and fix the injustices I see in the world. And I think the crowds in this morning's Bible story would have been able to relate to the desire to fix things and to make everything better. You see, the Jewish homeland fell under Roman rule in 63 BCE, so 63 before the current era, about 6 decades before Jesus was born. And conditions were terrible, both economically and politically. Roman rule was particularly devastating for the peasant class. Peasants who used to have small parcels of land and maybe a little that they could grow food on for their families and maybe a little to sell so they could buy things that they needed, had become increasingly landless laborers because they couldn't afford to pay the taxes that the Roman Empire was levying. Many struggled to survive, and in fact some starved. That's the context in which Jesus teaches his disciples to pray, "Give us this day our daily bread." Lots of people didn't have enough to eat. And they thought Jesus was the one to save them. In fact, that's what Hosanna means, save us. So the crowds have gathered to hail Jesus as king. They cry out, "Save us, save us, save us," waving branches and pieces of clothing in the air in celebration that this is the one who will save them. Except Jesus wasn't that kind of king. He didn't come into Jerusalem riding on a war horse at the head of an army like the people wanted him to. He came on a donkey, followed by a raggedy band of disciples, most of whom were peasants and fisherfolk. And the Pharisees, seeing how popular he is with the crowds, start trying even harder to undermine him. And by the end of the week, the crowds will shout, "Crucify him," while Pilate condemns him to death. This is not the kind of king the people thought they were looking for. Jesus is a disappointment. And Max discovers that being king of the wild things is not all it's cracked up to be. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't really fix anything. In fact, he finds himself very lonely, and he longs to be where people love him best of all. And sadly, I'm pretty sure if the universe made me king for a day, I would not be able to magically fix the problems in the world, or heck, even the problems in my own life. While it sometimes seems to me from the outside that the solutions are simple, in reality, most of those problems are quite complex. And as much as I am frustrated with their decisions at times, the truth is that the people who are in government and other positions of leadership are probably trying their best. They may have different values than I do, and they might make decisions that I disagree with, but they are likely trying in their own ways to make the world a better place. At least most of them, most of the time. We want a king of the wild things who will help us tame the wilderness of this world. The crowds in Jerusalem want to be freed from Roman rule. Max wants to escape from the difficulties of his life. I want to fix the brokenness I perceive in the world. We long for a particular kind of Savior who is going to rescue us from the messiness of being human. Yet the Palm Sunday story reminds us that it doesn't work that way. It says that God's way to change the world is not by ruling over it, but by transforming it from within. It says that God saves the world by becoming part of it in Jesus, not by helping us to escape from it. Somehow we think that everything will be better when we gain control of this topsy-turvy world. Life will go smoothly when we finally make our way out of the wilderness. And sometimes we create situations where we have the illusion that we have escaped from the wilderness for a while. We can fool ourselves into thinking that life is nice and predictable, and if we do all the right things, then things will turn out the way we want, and we won't need to feel vulnerable or broken. But life is actually lived in the wilderness. It is not some place we can escape from, and the wildness within us is the place where our souls dwell. As Parker Palmer puts it in his book, A Hidden Wholeness, the soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, savvy, self-sufficient, and yet exceedingly shy. The soul is wild. If we manage to stamp out all the wildness in life, we stamp out our souls too. If we put on enough masks, enough armor, enough barriers, we might temporarily at least create a situation in which it feels like the wildness is contained. But that protection from wildness comes at a price. It comes with the suppression of the fullest, most rich, most deep, most sacred parts of ourselves, our very souls. Brené Brown writes in her book, Daring Greatly, "As children, we found ways to protect ourselves from vulnerability, from being hurt, diminished, and disappointed. We put on armor. We used our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors as weapons. We learned how to make ourselves scarce, even to disappear. Now, as adults, we realize that to live with courage, purpose, and connection, to be the person who we long to be, we must again be vulnerable. We must take off the armor, put down the weapons, show up, and let ourselves be seen. We have to ride donkeys rather than war horses. We have to be in touch with our own center so deeply that neither the crowds shouting our praises, Hosanna, Hosanna, nor the crowds condemning us, crucify him, can disconnect us from our soul's deep wisdom. We need to own that vulnerable, exquisitely tender place within us where, like Max, we long to be, where someone loves us best of all. And we need to release the desire for a magic wand to solve all society's problems like a magnificent ruler, and embrace the ordinary, messy struggle of doing our own small part faithfully, yet imperfectly. We have to get used to living in the wilderness. So if you thought that at the end of Lent we would leave the wilderness, I'm sorry to disappoint you. In fact, the invitation of Holy Week stories is to journey even more deeply into the shadowy parts of our lives and our world, to make the trek ever more fully into the wilderness. As Anne Weem writes in the conclusion to her poem Holy Week, And on that darkest of days, each of us must stand beneath the tree and watch the dying, if we are to be there when the stone is rolled away. The only road to Easter morning is through the unrelenting shadows of that Friday. Only then will the Alleluias be sung. Only then will the dancing begin. Friends, there is light, there is hope, there is new life, there is resurrection, there is singing and dancing. But it comes to us most fully when we are willing to brave the wilderness. Will you join me there? I see a man on the donkey leading the way. Shall we follow?